Now, to follow Maria is Robert Gibbons. Now, Robert has performed with this collective twice, the first and second editions in May of 2012 and August 2012, and I'm very honored to have him back here. He's read at most of the venues here in New York City: Cornelia St Cafe, Satin Series, Poets on White, Nomad's Choir, and so on. He also has a book out called Close to the Tree. The publisher is Three Rooms Press. You can ask Robert about it afterwards. He might have some copies here. And he's also widely published. I'm very honored to have Robert Gibbons return here to the Cornelia St Cafe and perform poetry for us. Let's hear a warm welcome for Robert Gibbons.
Take your time, Baba.
Worth waiting for.
Can I lift this up a little bit?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you to your lovely wife, Diane. Thank you, my friend Maria, for sharing the stage with my friend Maria and all of the other readers. I do have a few copies of my book tonight, if you're interested. I read a article in the New York Times today, and it talked about these totem poles from Kenya that had been taken, and so they are being returned. And I wrote this poem about the totem poles, so I'm glad that they're being returned. So that makes this poem timely. And I'll start off with that poem. Vingango. If totems are sacred to their people, then Leakey was correct when he said sacrilege. The pillage and plunder, the bust of the nude Amazon are missing extremities. Her fingers are chipped, burned from razor wires, crates carted in New York harbors and diaspora, in Middle Passage keels, not human, but humanity. The art is artifact. Fool the eye with nautical drive-bys as there is no regard for the sacred, paying homage to the profane. More fiduciary than duty, these objects are not fool the eye, but sacred relics like barometers to measure the season, or weather vane like Ben Franklin's almanac. And if it's not indigenous, then it can be conquered, or call it eminent domain, or call it apartheid. The Vagango is a totem. Then the crops fail, the drought with the plague of locusts, the last in evil days. The last shall be first, the earth shall give away its mirth, and then it will be the beginning of the destruction. The obstruction of justice from a higher power. The world will belong to Shango and Ogun. The collision of fire and water, iron and steel, digging skulls from beneath the Harlem River. The protector of crops, the stoppage in aqueducts, call it mythology or mythopoeic, archaic and primitive, as if civilization has a frame. And I could not write this, the enemy tried to snuff out the light, but it will take a new revision after Champollion enters the tomb and dies from the curse. And the earth will flood in the age of Jonah, and it will not be water but fire next time. So I will call on the dead. Being the male of my household, my ancestors will judge me whole. Will knock on wood with this totem. With the totem of my people, those who do not know me, I'm connected to Matabane, who drinks palm wine and coconut oil, will sit griot until the ascension. The body electric. And this is for Major Owens. Now that your body of work was laid to rest in Crown Heights at a Baptist church. People traveling from miles around to pay homage to the great librarian, the Honorable John Lewis, archivist, lifted your roots to the third heavens. You are the color of brown stone. Understand the major and not the minor, the People's Congress. You will transform into the body electric. The perplexing curves of a Manhattan street, and there are empty lots and shotgun houses, and I am noticed with the strong stranglehold. The choke of a haze in this change, call a retrial. Refigure the jury so it will go down in history equally. Now that the body is electric, God is not dead, Frederick Douglass. The God of my ancestors, the Lord of my predecessors, we are waiting to the era of stop and frisk. The streets bend in its curve of churches until the bleeding stops. And if I'm wrong, convict me, but I am an isolated America. A name given to a certain group of us, and we know what you say beneath your breath. I am fugitive slave. I was a boy instead of a man, but I'm not telling my name, and you know we are not the same, making us check our identity in those boxes. The rock cliff and the notes of margins and the marginalized. Now that the body is electric, join the ranks of the ancestors prophetic. President Obama. It is more than a black man being honored in this month of February, but it is Lincoln and Washington and Gettysburg and Mount Vernon. The groundhog sees her shadow, borrows. It is not Mr., but President. It is not trickster, but monumental. This is a war against conceit. This is hate against hate. And may your graying locks, Obama, quaff like Frederick Douglass. Everything has disappeared. To report that a 14-year-old is killed clashes with President Obama's birthday, is as old as the hanging of John Brown upon the election of Abraham Lincoln cannot separate the frontier effect. Who will report of another black death besides the ones drawing on sensationalism or fame? Another rote demagogue making claim of social justice or the push and pull of the pundit. The rival between Jay-Z and Belafonte further infuriates, instigating another black on black, another flight of the fortunate. His mother compared him to Trayvon, but the biggest difference is the latter was unarmed as Trayvon mounts the scaffold as John Brown's martyrdom. The streets are an open hospital ward not far, but there is no scene, no investigation, just plot and conflict. Just the writing process is overwrite. The blight of space in literature, so the author disappears. He is sequestered and threatened to conform, to learn from his past. He is shadow and act, and enslaved with lashes, but he is a corpse for the judgment. His spirit left to grieve. Language doesn't open a way of this disappearance. His remembrance is violent. But should we judge him by age? Instead, his insurrection, his hanging from the Gina 6 tree. We cannot forget history. Bury him and he will resurrect in another part of the city. His geography has no jury. His animus are plenty. Demonize him in the corners of Detroit, in the howls of Chicago. Subjugate him like the down low pants below Mason-Dixon. Give him justice in the background of a chain gang, in the sanctum of an unseen eye. It becomes repetitious. It becomes vicious. Then we wait. I'll do a few more if I can. For Jordan Davis. I am not a recipient, and by the way, I'm from Florida. For the people that didn't know that, I'm a Floridian. I'm in the Sunshine State. I am a recipient and not a witness to the prediction of Bobby and Jack, of Martin and Malcolm, a divided nation of revolution, and who would discern the record of Scottsboro and Emmett Till, of Jordan and Trayvon, to glamorize the tragedian on Broadway like cigarettes, to glamorize Hanna-Barbera and this world of stereotypes, a divided world full of gun smoke and cowboys and Indians, and we wanted to be detectives, to carry a gun in the walk of late night street romancing the power of the bullet, and they all died before disease, before political correctness. And if this is worthy of black arts, then call me the lesser art. My quality dumbed down and found me the recipient of a sharecropper's dream, the child on the other side of the railroad tracks walking out of Congress to form a Dixiecrat, and we should be proud for clemency. And the tendency, the blood-stained banner lingers of James Farmer and Ruby Bridges. Not so Camelot in these necks and chicken bones fighting over scraps of a segregation church and schools with hand-me-down and watch children with all the money. And no, this is not anger. It is fallacy. That will be the legacy. And please forgive me that it will take 50 or 85 to forgive for the deaths of the ones not unearthed in the licentious and the libel, the ones called rabble-riser, but the spit is still thick, marking the flames eternal, the names listed on the wall of shame and all the war memorials. And they wanted to fight like you did, but the charcoal did not trace the same. And it was just basic enough to be satisfied with television and cereal and piecemeal and material. I am not a witness, just a recipient from a fetus hanging in time in half crescents. I'll do a few more. Thank you. I'm almost done. Give me a minute to fill it. Yeah. Take my time. Yeah, that's what you all say, but I'm nervous. I'm going to try to change this. Imagination. This is my imagination. If I could take up residence in the Sherry Netherland, I try not to ever admit it, but I would have lunch at Cipriano's and buy my tie clip from Bergdorf's. Vogue, I would read all 800 pages on the street and 25 women with Jimmy Choos on their feet. There are 100 cameras near the Prada building, and those golden dinosaurs are all Louis Vuitton. The money is as mammoth and my attitude is gammoth. I could be a cover boy with a model frame, would be your boy toy with all the fame. But I must decide between Harry Winston and Henri Bendel, but I will just settle on some Van Cleef and Arpels. Thank you. Copy of my book. Right? You like that? Close to the Tree by 3 Moves Press. I'll do 2 more. This is for Jason Collins. I said you would never tell, ever, because of the way we identify. The reason sexuality has nothing to do with agility. The reason there are ballerinas on the court with Michael Jordan is not a prima in Van Gogh yellow. The whole troupe or trope of Baryshnikov or Merce or Martha Graham being lifted up in ascension. You said you would not tell, but the secret is quiet as a riot in the locker room. Why not take this look? They all do, furtively from their periphery. The way art angles the shoulder and colors the bone, it circulates in layer beneath infrared white. Then there are 2 sides on the court, dying in the crypts of the churches, dying because Stokely rejected James and because Harlem gossiped about Langston, dying to tell, dying to sell the lies, dying so County Cullen married Yolanda in one dark body, but dying to the highest, your name in print. Did they know you're not free? I live as transgendered. I live as transgendered. I had to recover, to transform into another language, even yet another gender. It all depends on the reason the night Von Nettles walked the streets of Harlem, the reason Mark Carson is shot in the face. I'm scared of all those phobias creeping the streets like microbes. Every corner stone hanging out all night. I'm a fight with myself and my intellect, my heart resisting, and he and she lays there in some lycanthropic state, as if dead does not mean dead, as if dead does not mean bury the dead, as she moans in her feminine voice in basso continuo as a hermaphroditic. The one held a penis, but the midnight has renal failure. The hydrants become sphincter muscles, contracting back and forth into the orifices of the street, and God said she was dead, and she lived her life as a woman, and she wanted fertility, possibly of going back into her mother's womb, a mistake of breach, and she is a lesion of transgender, so they teased her. And she had to push it down between her legs when it became aroused, and she had to fight the war of boyhood in the locker room and the bathroom, and she could not shower with the rest of us. Her male breast being sucked by her uncle that went to prison, treating her like a real woman on that late night shift, and he let her suck and call on geometry. And she held her legs up in an inverted pyramid, so she is abused. And so she calls on psychotherapy, a ward on Broadway. It's the hard way when you drag on Times Square and Christopher, but the trickster hides in the bushes at the piers, drinking green punch from plastic cups. Thank you.